Greetings and thank you for being here to talk about commitment at a lecture at 8:30 a.m. on Carb Day. For the record, I do not smell logs when I mill them. The video you may have seen online in the last week or so is definitely me. But in this climate we're in now, politically and everything, I'm going to deny it. It wasn't me. I'm just going to keep it moving. Okay, so when Creative Mornings told me that I could come and speak today, I was like so excited to run up here and just go off and flip on you guys. Like, if any of you know me, I talk too much anyway, but it's almost like I got traded. Like, I was a pro ball player who got traded and found out on ESPN. A few days later, I looked online and it said I was speaking about commitment. And I don't know why, but I had like a huge anxiety attack. I kind of really flipped out, and I got on Wikipedia. I was like, what the hell does commitment really mean? Like, oh my God, what am I doing? And that didn't work. It made me more nervous because the definition is a lot of things that I don't do that well. You know, I'm kind of either unlucky or just, haven't really read up on commitment hard enough to pay attention, but I was really flipping out. And then I thought, well, wait, I bet some famous people have talked about commitment in their lives, and maybe I can just steal from one of them. So fortunately, with the internet, I looked at right up famous commitment quotes, and luckily the very first one was one by our friend Mario Andretti. Now, this is one of my prized possessions. I'm a collector as an art guy working here, all these artists. I collect a lot of weird crap, and I'm not necessarily a hoarder. I've got a good collection, trust me, but this is one of my prized pieces given to me by Casey Eskridge. I don't know if any of you know who Casey Eskridge is. Heron alumni. We went to school together. Complete badass sculptor. I mean, he can carve you out of stone, make you out of clay, draw you, whatever. He's like Michelangelo level in a way. If you look up his work, you'll be like, oh, I see. He's a true amazing artist. I have no idea why he had that. He can make, a Donatello knockoff, but then he had that. So he brought it to me. We were doing the face jug thing. Some of you might have remembered we did the face jug show a few years back. It was a show where we invited artists over to the studio. We made face jugs, and then we sold them and had an auction. We did it with the Hi-Fi and Josh Baker and them. And we donated half the wood, see the wood, it's everywhere now. So we donated half of the money from the auction to Art with a Heart, and that helps inner city kids do a summer camp program for art. And that's kind of some things that got me started in a way, were programs like that. But back to the mailbox. Mario Andretti's mailbox is like, I want to show it to you because it's weird, but when I looked up the quotes, he was the first quote I found. And I mean, here we are, Carb Day, right? We got Andretti on the screen. So here's what I heard. Desire is the key to motivation, but it's determination and a commitment to an unrelenting pursuit of your goal, a commitment to excellence that will enable you to attain the success you seek. And that really started to help settle me a little bit and make me feel like I could talk for 4 or 5 minutes here and not fumble around. So I wanted to use him today to talk to you guys about it, because when I thought about it, I've been doing artwork since I was in junior high, and I'm up here representing Indy urban hardwood, but I got to this place by being an artist, being involved in the community, helping do exhibit work everywhere, becoming friends with, the best artists in the city. I mean, I can go down a list a mile long. These guys are like family, So commitment to me is kind of what I am anyway, or my job, or really, I don't think you really know it. You don't think about it until you're asked to speak in front of people. Like, you don't even think that you're doing it. But once I was asked, I started reflecting back, and my gosh, I mean, just the work the Fab Crew and I have done, and we're getting into over a decade now. That's kind of weird in a way, like we helped change things a little bit around here, and a lot of you artists have. So like, let's congratulate ourselves that we stayed here, that we made our impacts, that we're trying to do better. I think all of us combined have helped make Indianapolis better. It isn't about me or my commitment. I think any of you, how many people in here might be self-employed? I mean, here we are at 8:30 in the morning or 9 in the morning, and I feel like this room might have a lot of people work for themselves like I do, because you can just take today off. I don't think a lot of people can just bounce out of their job and come down for the lecture. So I'm very appreciative that you guys took some time to be with me today and listen to what we're talking about. I wanted to touch on how Indy Urban got here in a way and why. I mean, the video does a good job, but some people helped behind the scenes that really kind of kick-started the whole thing. I mean, like I said, I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but things like resources, money, just manpower, you name it, it was just not that tangible. You can get on Wood-Miser's website, say you want to have somebody cut a tree for you. They have an urban sawyer network. You can hire some people here or there. I just wanted to kind of get more involved in it. So initially, this is Ashley Burnham, and she's a great friend. More than that, we've dated many times over the last 6 years. Unfollowed, refollowed, you name it. We're good type friends. So Ashley is an amazing person. She's the CEO of a company here. I want to cheer on ladies right now. Here's a female CEO under 40 in our city. She runs a family-owned business and has taken over the helm of it, and they're doing much better than I think they were in the past. So good for her for coming on board and helping. HCM and MSI are her two companies. Behind the scenes, she wanted to help infuse some money into Indy Urban Hardwood to help me even get it started. And so without her initial commitment, we wouldn't be right here right now. So let's give a big hand for Ashley initially. This is the silent partner. This is Chad Smith. Chad's a graffiti writer. We know him very well as Bax. He's a good friend of ours, a really talented and creative kid. You wouldn't know he's a graffiti writer by this mountain man look he carries, but he's a really amazing muralist and a deep friend of the Fab crew. So Chad had a sawmill that he purchased from his family. His family owned a landscaping company in Lebanon, and it's like, if any of you are into cars or anything, he bought a 92 Cream Puff, okay? It's a 92 LT30 that had like 60 hours on it, which is nothing. That's like 1 week, but the family hardly ever ran it. They kept it in the barn, the whole deal. So like we had this little sawmill that he had bought, and I had the bug, to do the urban lumber, and he was like, let's start milling. And so we started approaching people and going around town to people I knew, like John Zepps. If any of you know John Zepps, the musician, he took this big ash tree down in his yard. It's like, it went from like some conversations to like one night Ashley's like, let's just get this LLC, let's get the website. We bought everything on, GoDaddy and signed up with the state and all this stuff just very quickly, boom, by it like March or April. Like, so in December we started this stuff. By March, I got on the front page of the Indy Star. Like, we were fledgling and I was on the front page of the news. There's Johnny Z. So Johnny Z helps me exponentially. He hasn't been around a few weeks. He caught like a respiratory deal from probably all the sawdust. He has asthma or whatever. And I got a new saw recently that's like cuts twice as fast. I mean, we were all just like, whoa. Wood-Miser's done a hell of a job making these machines break logs down. I can tell you that. Having a 92 Cream Puff was cool, but having a 2018 LT40 wide is a whole nother ball game. So it's been really interesting to actually initially learn on a simple machine like this, but then move on into this new one that's just doubling production and all that. The great story about this photo is, this is crazy, but this lady, it was a 90-foot cherry tree. They're over on Westfield. I don't know if you guys remember, there was a big straight line winds 2 or 3 years ago that came through the north side and knocked a bunch of trees down. I ended up actually milling about 3 or 4 trees off of that, and we got going about a year after it. So the people had them down and either didn't have the money to haul them away or just didn't yet, but we ended up getting hooked up. But this lady in particular was sitting on her porch enjoying a glass of wine after work, and that wind came around 7, I think, and it hit that tree, or 90-foot cherry tree, and it knocked it over. And she said she was sitting there drinking her glass of wine, and as she looked up, here came this tree, and it fell and hit her, and it gave her 12 stitches in the head, and shot a stick through her flip-flop, and it stuck in the ground about that far, so it could have poked her pretty good, and just knocked the hell out of her. So she came to with her husband dragging her out from underneath the thing. And the larger parts of the log were about 4 or 5 feet from her. So she literally almost got killed by a tree, and called us and was like, we want you to mill this piece. I didn't realize, when we got to her properties when she told me, and she was from Jersey. She's like, "Oh, Brian, you wouldn't believe it. The damn thing fell, it come flying down, knocked the shit out of me. Oh my God, it killed me. It drugged me out. The dog's licking my face. I'm bleeding everywhere." She was just like, "Do something with this tree. It's really done pissed me off." And so we got into it, and when we started milling on it, it was like very punky and hollow in the middle, and it's very indicative of why it fell. That tree was near the end of its life, and no one really knew it, and the wind was coming the right way, and she was in the wrong chair, and here we are, on the stage telling you about this tree. It was amazing that thing happened, but it was so punky that I made that chair for Johnny in about 2 minutes because I could just dive through it with the chainsaw. And that's Johnny Z. He's a musician, commitment. God, the guy's been in 50, 60 bands in town. Owned Vibes Music and Record Store. If you don't know Johnny Z, get to know him. He's such a beautiful human and funny guy. He exudes like happiness in a way. It's impossible. I don't know how he does it. I tend to get pretty wound up about stuff. So, in 2000, when I worked here and they cut the parking garage, it was really interesting because within a few days they had knocked some trees down, and then I saw these guys tossing them in the dumpster. And I ran back to Mark Zelonis, who was the head of grounds, and I asked him if we could do something about it and save some of this stuff. To be honest, none of us made a ton of money. We were young art handlers. The museums, are non-for-profits. It's not like you're going to get rich out here working in a museum. You do it because you love it. You do it because you care. You do it because you want to be in this kind of environment and learn. The history I learned from here for free was, I feel like I got a master's degree in art history just handling this collection, which I felt very fortunate about. But when I saw him throwing the trees away, I was upset. Oh my God, what are you thinking? And I ran back to Mark Zelonis and asked him, and we brought a guy named Burl Tinchner, I think is his name. Burl was a longtime Woodmiser guy. He came out here in 2000 and we milled. And me and Corey and a bunch of other people had that wood, and really we figured out how hard and crazy of an idea it is to do urban milling. The ash borer beetles taking down the ash trees right now, like in our lifetime, they're all dying. And that's hard to picture for you guys. I've gotten a better picture of it now that I've been traveling around so much. But 12% of the trees in Marion County are ash. And so, if we took 12% of you out of this room right now, it would be a lot smaller, right? So it's unbelievable what I'm seeing, the amount of wood that's coming down just by this disease. And then we have storms and we have diseased and dying trees and all that. So just in the areas that I'm working, we don't work with developers too much. We will for certain projects, but it's not like I'm going to where they're just cutting down trees and getting free logs. We're working with landowners, tree companies, and trying to stick to the sustainable end of it. They let us mill out here, and here it is, 17 years? It's really trippy to me that it got to come back around full circle like that. And thank you to the museum for having us today. For me to be able to come back and speak here is really funny in a way. I think anybody that knows me knows this is great. Because I don't know if I ever really fit the mold here, but I did work my ass off, and I put in a lot of time trying to help. And it's great to be back and to help them out. Our company now, we have Jeff Gray. Jeff is the guy, if you deal with some of the business end emails and things like that, you're probably going to be talking to Jeff out of the gate. I didn't put his picture up here because he's with us today. Andy Stuart just came on board a few weeks ago, and I cherry-picked Andy from the museum. He was an installer here for about 17 years. Andy's one of the most competent and capable guys I've ever had to work with. We've pulled off some amazing shows, and we hung the Simon Mansion for Mel and Brent Simon years back, 75,000 square feet. We were putting up paintings as big as this screen here for him, and Andy and I never even had a hiccup, I don't think, over there. So I'm beyond happy and proud to have him come on. I'm sorry to the museum that we borrowed him like this. But he's amazing, and he's going to help us really go a lot farther here soon. Here's some pictures of the mill, some of the sites we get to go to. This is a house that's over in Burnham. Burnham's a big property over by Cathedral. Just in that area alone, there's so many trees on the ground, you guys. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trees in like a 5-mile area. I didn't know that going into it. I've said many times I feel like Jed Clampett a little bit. Like, if you know the Beverly Hillbillies, how he shot at the dirt and the oil started coming out. Like I said, let's mill some urban logs, and we've got like 600 on the ground right now. We're getting called every week. There's no end in sight. I had no idea there was this much going to waste, but I certainly do now, and I want to work with you guys today to help educate you about that. I kind of want this to get into pep rally mode. Let's go into pep rally mode now. Commitment. You guys can make commitment. All of you are creatives of some sort, I'm sure, or very interested in creatives, but if I can use this platform right today, I will try to help educate you more about what urban lumber is and can do. That's the new machine. 34-inch wide planks is what I can cut now. Chad's mill could cut 22 at the widest. 34 wide's dining table width. It's pretty insane. It's really hard. We hand move a lot of things. I don't come to people's houses and mill their trees with a bobcat because I'll just ruin your yard. If we can get the people with the landowners and the bigger trees, a lot of them will have bobcats, or we'll bring that stuff around. If we go to a property like Burbuff lost 150 trees along their cross-country course, and we're working with them right now to get logs lined up so we can go on site at Burbuff and knock out those trees and try to save some of that stuff. I went through their cross-country, it looked like King Kong ran through there, literally. Like, you would be so shocked. There are pockets where 60% of the trees are ash. 12% makes up the total, but there are pockets I'm seeing that are just like, are you kidding me? Like Emily Knerk, who owns Bitch Sticks, her father, Harry, and her brought me out to their house in Zionsville. Most beautiful postcard property. Like, there's an alley of ash trees that goes around the bend and up to the house. It was all ash. Just like the whole thing is gone. I cried. I mean, like, I got to her house and got teary-eyed because I was like, holy shit, you've lost all this? Like, people are buying their homes because of these beautiful trees and things. And when they got to come down, the tree companies cost pretty pricey. The closer it gets to your home, the bigger it is, all that. The prices go up. You can be $8,000, $10,000 to get a tree taken down. And a couple thousand of that might be to haul it away. And so we try to get in the middle with the homeowners and the landowners to say, hey, wait a minute. You were proud as piss of this tree a month ago. Like, don't let your heart out and get it sawn up into firewood right now. Maybe we can do something with it. And so people email us, they call us, they try to let us know when they got this stuff, and we try to get it into the schedule and get it working. The ideal thing right now, because we don't have our own grapple truck, is to get the tree companies to bring the tree to our log drop. We've got a log dump zone behind the studio over at CCIC. That's Heath Outdoors. Heath Outdoors has been amazing for us. They've let us drop a lot of logs on their property. And without their help, we wouldn't have harvested probably a third of what we've gotten so far, because we can't run around to every little place that we're being offered. But sometimes it's working out. And so know that we have some of these services and some connections where if you do lose some trees, or your neighbors or your family, that maybe we can have some impact and help you guys. The new machine cuts 650 board feet an hour. That's pretty fast, but after you walk back and forth a whole lot, because every time you cut a board, you walk down and then you raise the blade and you come back, you can start rocking out and cutting. And so this is the wood that we have that's dried. Now, Wood-Mizer partnered with Nile, but Wood-Mizer sells a kiln. Nile's a big kiln maker nationally, but Wood-Mizer has a model that came out of the Nile factory, the KD250, and that's what we use to dry the wood. You dry wood down to 8% for moisture content. What's weird is oak grows at 100% moisture content, so it's full of water. I mean, literally, you cut an oak tree and lift it, and there's water pouring out of it. Ash, on the other hand, grows naturally at 45%. So as much as it sucks that these are all dying right now, I can get them down to 8 pretty quick. So we can save a lot of wood that's coming down if we can keep getting to it. As you can see, we've got walnut, cherry, sycamore, maple, ash, pine. It isn't just ash. Everybody might think we're real heavy on the ash because of the beetle. It's predominantly the most wood that we're seeing, but we've been offered up. I mean, I've cut elm and beech, and it's been really interesting to see again, how much was actually going to waste? It really doesn't make much sense. Some of the places we've been fortunate enough to help in the city, which is part of the commitment thing. Many of you have been to Bluebeard. You've seen what Tom Batiste and them did over there. The picture on the right is the back room of Bluebeard. It's a private room, but now they run it pretty frequently. Those are all cherry tables that came out of some reclaimed wood. On the left is Yukio, Neil Brown's new spot up on 49th and College. And Craig McCormick, a designer with Blackline, he got us involved up there. And so the Sushi Bar is actually from one log. When you cut through logs, you can book match them like this, but I went end to end. So the Sushi Bar is 2 planks that are book matched out on one log. I kind of wanted to do that for a long time and bring one log into one piece, and that did happen there. And then the other one's a book matched one that's got some copper epoxy details, some bow ties and stuff. We can do a lot of other fancy things with them. On the left, folks that own Natural Born Juicers, they have their food truck right outside our space, and we made them that dining table. They got a new little kid, and they were like, this glass top is freaking us out, and we wanted something else, so that's cherry. The one on the right is Boxelder. That's kind of a really rare hardwood. That did come off the Canuck property, and that piece will be getting finished up soon. We'll post that on the website real soon, but that's kind of a rare, it's in the maple family, but when you cut it, it looks like bacon like that. It's like a really trippy... And you know, it's like when I worked here, I handled all this amazing work. I mean, to say, Brian, would you go get the Rembrandt from the vault? I was like, are you really? You want me to go down there? Wow. So I would go get this $150 million painting with my white gloves and roll it up there, you know. As I worked here, working in the Japanese and Chinese collections, Asian collections, where you would work with scrolls, was some of the most beautiful stuff. There's often a little wooden box that you loosen up or you slide the lid out of, and then you bring another box out and you wiggle that lid off. This is all hand-cut wood that's very well made. There's some silks in there, and you lift the scroll out with the silks. It's like this big process to even see this work, you know? And then you hang the scroll, and as you unroll it, this badass, you know, painting comes out, ink painting of a samurai or somebody, like amazing 1805, this guy was knocking these out. Well, when you unroll it, you're just like, holy shit, look at that. You know, it always would happen, like where you couldn't believe it. Sometimes you hated the piece, but let's be romantic here. You always just love it. Oh, roll the scroll. So tree milling is a lot like that little analogy. Well, you don't know what you're getting into. I mean, sometimes it could be hollow and full of bees, or, I mean, we've had some pretty craziness, but as you bust them open, you see these things, you just kind of get addicted to it. It's like, oh shit, look at that crotch grain on that curly walnut. You know, you're jabbering about these weird little words that are associated with high-end woodworking, more or less. So when you get figure and curl and crotch grain and, you know, all of this, you're full wood geek at that point. Like I said, I don't smell trees. That's not true, none of that. This is Kyle and Lauren Sanders, great couple up on the Meridian Kessler area. That tree was about 60 feet outside their house there. It's a cherry tree, and so that was our first yard to table that we fully got to mill it, dry it, and bring it back and put it in their house. That thing is 4 feet by 10 feet. It's all cherry, and like I said, you could literally look out that window a year ago and that tree would have been there. And it was really weird. It was almost like weird as coming here to speak today. It was weird to have the idea for so long and then it finally come to fruition like that. And that's one of the first pieces that I feel did the full circle and went all the way back. We're going to be very fortunate this year. We're working the huge project with the Indianapolis Public Library System. They're doing a new branch at 62nd and Michigan Road, and we milled about 40 trees on that property, 40 logs or so, and it's going back into the building into a whole range of items. There's going to be a tunnel that the kids can run through for the reading area. There's going to be a lot of trim work, the louvers and the benches outside. A lot of the stuff's all from the site, which we're just beyond thrilled to be able to help them and work with something as official. Like I said, with the Indianapolis Museum of Art, we've got a bunch of things in the gift store now where we partnered with them. And, that's what I'm hoping I can get you guys to get more committed into. I know every one of you can jump in your car and run up to IKEA right now, buy a $29 coffee table. but don't. Think about it. I mean, maybe it teaches you about good design, knowing that someone made the table at IKEA. But think about guys like us and the local makers, the artists. Support local. Get these stories going that you can pass down, because I do believe that if in our lifetimes we start to look at it, if you start collecting your Scamahorns, your Dan Thompsons, your Ben Longs, in 100 years they're going to be worth more. I've spent a lot of years helping collectors around the city help hang their T.C. Steeles and their John Otis Adams paintings and their Lois Templetons, and these are amazing Indiana artists. But we've got a new group coming through: Justin Vining, Benny Sanders, Kib Norman, Quincy. I could go on and on. I don't want to miss anybody. I mean, Brian Priest, that helped us initially, that's an amazing artist. Get a Priest or something. So the commitment I hope to get you guys to share with me is that we can be collectors and purveyors of this stuff. It's already all over town. I've helped, Flatwater, 20 Tap, the outdoor seating at 20 Tap's all reclaimed ash that came out of Kevin's yard in some cases. Like, we milled his tree and put it back into those seats. These are custom pieces. Dining table on the left, Ashley landed at Ashley's house. She's got that one, so that's curly maple. The one on the right went to an NFL guy. I won't say his name, he's a sweet guy, but NFL player got it. Jeff Martin and Dane over at Centerline, they helped design and fabricate the base. Jeff Martin actually drew that up. It's a pretty amazing little table. Just come see us. Come see the local artists. Do your first Friday runs. Start small, whatever. Try to collect this stuff. And if everybody can share the knowledge that we can save this wood, I believe sustainability is going to be a big deal. And I can't imagine in 20 years that we're still going to be able to throw logs in the dump. I mean, does that sound feasible? Maybe 10? Can we get it to 10 and sound like we know what we're thinking? Because I want us to think about the legacy of not wasting. It's not our fault, it's just our culture right now. We got this throwaway, nutty culture. And I mean, my whole career I've been recycling stuff, first out of necessity because I was an artist. I didn't have any damn money. You just want to make stuff, so you recycle and recycle and recycle. I've had tons of phases that I've went through where I maybe got a whole set of new materials or something and ran through them. They were given to me or whatever. Just try to find commitment in doing what's right. Think about what you live with, what you keep around you, the stories that you'll get from collecting and having fine things around you do make life better. I do believe. It's helped me immensely. I think given 100 years, all the items that you might be collecting now will accrue in value. I will have filled my legacy of being an artist and maker here in our city, and your family will be able to keep passing them down. Hopefully by that time we won't be wasting these trees anymore. And thank you guys all for coming today, and thank you for years to come. I really do appreciate it.